that you do. Um, and I think as we go through, there will be a nice tie into the undergraduate program that we have. So what I've kind of set up is a agenda for an introduction, uh, just tell you a little bit about NIST, the organization I work at, and our programs, especially SURF, which is our undergraduate program. So it stands for Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And then I'll just, like I said, briefly explain the other programs that we have, and we'll have some question and answers, but feel free to just jump in whenever. And I really like this setup because I can see all of you. So like if you just kind of want to wave or even just start talking, it's fine. So by way of introductions, this is my career path. It's winding, and I like to show that because I know some people know when, from a young age or once they start college, they're like, I'm going to do this thing, and that's 100% my focus. And I'm sure like that's my father was going to be an engineer from his second grade. For me, I took some time to find out, and I think that's okay. Um, so don't worry. If you do have a straight line, that's great. And if you don't worry about it. Um, you'll end up where you're supposed to be. And I think I was at the right place at all of these different times. So I'm from Illinois. I started my kind of professional career, I'd say, at Southern Illinois University, where I got a bachelor's degree in mathematics. Then I went into teaching and leading academic programs in public schools. I taught 6th through 12th grade math for 20 years. So I did 1 year of teaching in Illinois, and then I moved out to Colorado. So the remainder of those years were out here. Different school districts, though. I've kind of been making a lap around the state. I like to joke about that, but I kind of started Southwest area and then up by Grand Junction, and now I'm towards the Front Range in Boulder area. Um, so I also led some academic programs that were like building wide for the entire high school, and some programs that were math specific for the entire district. So that kind of got me into like academic program management. At this time, I have my family, so that's my immediate family right there on the screen. I have my mom, I'm on the far left, and then my mom is right next to me, and then I have two children, and that's my husband on the far right. So they just graduated from college. John went to Mines, Colorado School of Mines, and Audrey is my daughter there. She went to Colorado State University, and she graduated about a year ago. So kind of been in this undergraduate world a lot recently. And then kind of during that same time, I was like, I kind of want to branch out and use my mind in different ways. So I went back to school and got an advanced degree in math. And, it took me a while because I would just take one class at a time because I was teaching and having a family and all the things. And I got some grants, but some of it I paid myself. So I just had to kind of cobble things together there. But a little bit at a time, got through. And then I found a position at NIST in our Public Safety Communications Research Division as a mathematician. So I was very excited to have that opportunity to do like applied math. It was really neat. And so public safety is like police, firefighters, and emergency medical technicians, EMTs. And so the public safety communications research really grew out of the 9/11 um, incident, and how the first responders had difficulty communicating with each other because they had like different systems and different phones and different radios and things like that. And so now the federal government, started this whole program to uh, investigate how public safety communications works and how we can have a robust system where firefighters, if they have to come from different areas, can communicate better. And then even just within their own group, how they can test their equipment and make decisions about what equipment they should use in terms of communication. So it's a very interesting project. It's right here in Boulder mainly. Um, and it's just on a different floor of the building I'm in. So after doing that for a while, the opportunity to manage our summer undergraduate research fellowship came up, and that kind of put both of things that I love is like STEM and science and math with academics, leading academic programs. So it kind of brought those both together. So I was able to have that position, and that's where I am now. And now I also am in charge of our high school internship as well. I need to update this slide a little bit, but that's been my path. So you guys are, in college right now, and we'll see, what unfolds as you go through. So I'll talk a little bit about NIST. So we're the National Institute of Standards and Technology. We're part of the United States government, so we're a federal agency in the Department of Commerce. Our mission is to promote U.S. innovation and industrial competitiveness by advancing measurement science, standards, and technology in ways that enhance economic security and improve our quality of life. So we're here for the American people. Measurement science is a huge topic because, if you're doing any kind of science, we want to know where are we starting from, and then we do something, how did things change? So we have to measure all along the way. And this goes from things that are simple, maybe more straightforward, like measuring length or um, volts or, mass, to measuring light coming from distant galaxies, the depth of the ocean, different gases in the atmosphere, other things that are more abstract. And if we have something to measure and there's no way to measure it yet, we invent that way and we invent the tools needed to do so. We also provide what are called standard reference materials. And again, these can be kind of basic things like we have a jar of peanut butter. That's a standard reference material. Like this is peanut butter. And then we have different like metals that are, pure metals to use in experiments or gases, things like that. And we also provide calibration services for, microscopes or anything that needs calibrating. Were written into the Constitution. NIST was started in 1901. So we've been around for a long time. We're celebrating our 125th anniversary this year. So we have been here for a while and we intend to stay. So that's very good. We are considered industry's national laboratory. So as a government agency, we partner with private industry and we partner with academia. We have two main campuses. Gaithersburg, Maryland is our main campus, our headquarters, and then our secondary campus in Boulder, Colorado. But in addition to these campuses, we have a lot of partnerships. You see this manufacturing extension partnership centers. We have one in every state. And, we have a lot of collaborations with other groups. We have 5 Nobel Prizes, 4 of them in physics. And Vale, I want to ask, what is your major? Because Mabel told us she's leaning towards physics, hasn't declared her major yet. But what about you?
I'm interested in organismal biology and ecology, so biology, and then a minor in museum studies.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that's great. So I'll talk a little bit about areas that might interest both of you in terms of what NIST does and your academic majors. So
We
this is
also
just
have
another slide.
sorry, we have a few more on the call too. I'd love to hear what your majors are.
Oh,
Hi, absolutely. My name is Ava Rizika. Sorry, I snuck on a little bit late there.
That's fine.
But I actually am also an organismal biology and ecology major, so I'm really interested in what you have to say about that. And my minor is anthropology, so not quite as applicable, I think, to this, but still, I'm intrigued to see all the programs you're working on.
yeah. Thank you, Ava. Nice to meet you. And Bryson?
Yeah, hi. Sorry my camera isn't working. I've been having a lot of computer issues recently. But
It's okay.
yeah, I haven't committed to a major yet, but I'm probably between some kind of biology or chemistry. But
Oh,
generally,
excellent.
I'm just like interested in all kinds of science.
Hmm. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you, Sarah. I didn't realize I could scroll down and see other folks on the call. So welcome, welcome to everybody. And NIST is a great place for all kinds of science. So I think you'll all be very happy about that part. This little slide here for the map of the United States shows, in the blue images, or I don't know what those are, pins, show our NIST campuses, again in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and then in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, and then we have a lot of partnerships. So we have these joint institutes and centers, and just different connections throughout the United States. Um, we are we are kind of in charge of the atomic clock, I will say. It's right over there. I can see the building where it's in. It's here in Boulder, and that provides timekeeping services for the United States and really much of the Western Hemisphere in the world. Um, so these are our different laboratory programs. We have six, and I have something kind of interesting showing up on my screen right now. Um, we have our metrology labs are in blue, so these are providing the measurements that underpin the SI, otherwise known as the metric system, the SI, the International System of Measurement. Then we have our engineering lab, information technology lab, and communications technology labs. So these are more of our like advanced technologies labs. And I should have said back there when I was talking about measurement science and standards, we also are doing cutting edge research and developing like cutting edge technology in partnership with academia and private industry. So some of the things we are working on here at NIST, like may not ever get to market, the public marketplace. Um, some of them will be like for just government agencies to use, like Department of Defense. A lot of the technology will not be like available for maybe 5 or 10 years. So we're working on that, behind the scenes technology that doesn't get out to the mainstream um, for several years. It's very advanced. And then we have our national user facility in Orange. That is the NIST Center for Neutron Research. So those ones with the asterisks, the engineering lab and the NIST Center for Neutron Research, are based only in Gaithersburg. The other four have people working in those labs at both campuses. And the NIST Center for Neutron Research is, NIST staff does research there, but also a lot of, like I said, academia and private industry will um, apply for opportunities to conduct research there. So to come in and use the facility. We have a new nuclear reactor there. Okay, so our priorities, we have critical and emerging technologies. So our administration, meaning like the White House, decides what those will be for each administration, and they can vary throughout somebody's term. Standards leadership, like we said, creating standard reference materials. Um, Manufacturing leadership, mission delivery enhancement, and NIST community building. So mission delivery enhancement is like, how do we get NIST science out into the world for the American people? Let's see. So we have a lot of products and services that sometimes are not widely known. Um, Over 1,000 standard reference materials, standard reference data sets, and measurement services. So, like, how do you know if you get gasoline in Colorado Springs or if you get gasoline in Boulder, and it says you're getting 10 gallons of gasoline? How do you know it's really giving you 10 gallons of gasoline? Well, those calibration services and those measurements are traceable back to NIST. We talked about the standard reference material of peanut butter. Like another standard reference material that's kind of interesting to me is human plasma. So like pure human plasma. That's kind of when people can like have a sample and then use it for their experiments. Gases for calibrating and environmental um, uh, calibrating environmental monitors. Um, So we provide certified gas mixtures like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen for calibrating environmental monitors. Um, we have like other interesting standard reference materials might be like gunshot residue or ignitable liquid residue. So things that could be used in forensics. Did I just put you guys there? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so different agencies, different private industries will use our standard reference materials and our calibration services, um, as well as partnering with us on advanced technologies. Some things you might not know that we do, but we do our infrastructure. We handle disaster and failure studies. So, like 9/11 happened, and the World Trade Center towers collapsed. Well, a team of NIST staff were sent to investigate that and to learn maybe, what could have been done, like in those buildings, what could have made the collapse less significant, right, or less harmful. There were over 30 recommendations that came out of that study for use in future buildings so that the buildings could be more resilient. Same with the Joplin tornado in 2011. We had, big tornado in Joplin, Missouri. So we had a crew there to study, and after their data analysis, we learned how communities can be more resilient. So, what in that area, they figured out what in that area helped the recovery happen faster so that, when a tornado happens again, we can make recommendations to those communities like focus on these areas that will help your community come back stronger, faster. So, things like that. Um, we do a lot of research on concrete. Um, and what makes concrete, what causes it to stress and fracture and things like that. How can it be more resilient? Okay. There's a lot happening at NIST, so those are just a few of the things that I think kind of are good for people to hear about, and people can maybe relate to them. So our critical and emerging technologies have been identified as artificial intelligence, biotechnology, um, cyber, and advanced communications, energy technology, and quantum information science. So biotech is very strong right now. I know we had a couple of biology majors here on the call. So that's a high priority for us. And again, like physics and quantum go together. We have a lot of physicists here at NIST in all of our different laboratories. We also are very much involved in the CHIPS Act and um, which stands for Creating Helpful Incentives for Producing Semiconductors Act. Um, and I think it's CHIPS and Science Act, actually. So working on advanced semiconductors happens here in our laboratories. We have a clean room here in Boulder, and we have another clean room in Gaithersburg. Okay, so that's a bit of an overview for NIST. And now I'm going to kind of transition to talking about the office that I work in, which is the International and Academic Affairs Office. Before I go there, are there any other questions? Okay. Okay, we'll keep going. So our team has expanded a little bit lately, which is nice. We have more than 4 people. We have 6 main programs: SURF, SHIP, PrEP, our summer institute for middle school science teachers. And then we have what's called the NRC postdocs program and a graduate measurement science and engineering program. And Prep Boulder is still part of Prep. And we are really interested in, connecting with people like you and your peers because first of all, the NIST mission is for the American people. And when the American people, the general public, understands and appreciates measurement science and standards, that's them supporting us, supporting NIST. And we need we need STEM staff. We need the STEM workforce of the future, so that we can carry on with our mission, right? And it's integral to our economic strength as a country. So I'm going to talk mostly about SURF, and then I'll just talk about the other programs a little bit so you're aware of them. And also I can forward these slides to Sarah, who can share them out with all of you. So like all the links and stuff will be available to you, and I can forward our brochures as well. So SURF stands for Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. Our mission is twofold. The SURF program is designed to inspire undergraduate students to pursue advanced degrees and careers in STEM. So that's our first part, is to help you pursue advanced degrees and careers in STEM. And then our second part is through a unique research experience that supports the NIST mission. So our second part is, to support the NIST mission, do work that benefits NIST as well. This program provides hands-on research experiences for undergraduates under mentor guidance. So you have like a relationship with a mentor who's a NIST staff. So, you work directly with them on a project that they've identified as being appropriate for undergraduate level. And it's usually like a subcomponent of a larger project that they are working on. Most of our SURF participants come for 11 weeks in the summer, but we know that academic calendars can vary, so we do offer some 9-week appointments. We expect people to be here full time, 40 hours a week. The specific like start and end times of every day can be managed between the student and the mentor. So, some people might like an earlier day where they're like starting at 7:30 and they go until what would that be? That'd be 4, because we do a half-hour lunch and then an 8-hour workday. Some people like, to start at 9:30 and they're going to work into the evening, and that's fine too. It just depends on what the student and the mentor arrange. We usually, recommend like 8-hour work days, but if you need to work a little bit more on one day and a little bit less on another day, that can be just managed between you and your mentor. So you do have that flexibility of your day to day, depending on if it works for your mentor. And it depends on your mentor will say, well, it depends on the project. So, if you have to be in the lab for a certain amount of time to get something done, then that's what they expect. And if they can adjust it for individual circumstances, then they usually are very nice about doing that. They're all in person, so in Gaithersburg or in Boulder. This program's been going on since 1993, so we've been here a while. Started in Gaithersburg and then kind of grew up and expanded to Boulder. And then we've had over 3,000 participants. So you can always look at our nist.gov/surf website for more details. This is a paid internship. We do expect to provide funding at the same level since 2025. So a $7,810 stipend for the summer for the 11-week program, and then we prorate that for the 9-week program. If a student is out of the area, like their permanent residence is somewhere like Iowa or, even Grand Junction, Colorado, they receive $4,500 for housing and $500 for traveling. So basically relocation is $5,000. And they get that at the beginning of the program. And the cutoff is 50 miles from the campus. So if you live more than 50 miles from your host campus, you get the housing and travel. And if you live less than 50 miles, then you get a commuting stipend instead. And the commuting stipend is based on how far away you are. We've had students in the past from the Boulder area and they live 2 miles from campus. We don't give them any commuting. But if you're 25 miles away, they get that student would get $250 for commuting. So you just multiply the miles by 10. Last year we had 140 participants, and you can see the breakdown there. We do have a larger cohort in Gaithersburg. We expect that break to be similar, but this year I think we're going to be up. I think we're actually going to be up around 175 students total from the projects that the mentors are turning in, with about 20 students in Boulder. Our dates are for sure May 27th through August 7th. That's the 11-week program. And then we have the option to start June 8th and go to August 7th for a 9-week program, or to start June 8th. And you can actually do 11 weeks. If you want to, if you start June 8th, you have the option to do 11 weeks and end August 21st. Okay. We do have some eligibility requirements, so you need to meet all these requirements, be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. So permanent resident, you need to be able to provide a valid green card, an unexpired green card. Undergraduates, STEM majors preferred, although we do have some non-STEM major opportunities. Those usually come for like uh, maybe an economics major or somebody who's in like an international business or kind of like technology transfer kind of work. It depends on which offices are hosting SURF students. I think we also have a science communication, like a science writing program opportunity this summer. We have a few options in our technology partnership office as well. So we need a good economic or good academic standing, like 3.0 or on a 4.0 scale preferred. We don't have a hard cutoff on that because we know that sometimes freshman year in particular, like students go through a big change from high school to college, and they might have some, things that don't go as planned freshman year, and then they kind of pick themselves up and figure things out, and things get better. So, we look at the overall picture. By federal law, you need to be 18 years old or older at the start of the fellowship to get one of these appointments. And we, like STEM majors, people who are looking for STEM as a career or a master's or PhD program. We do background checks, and people have to receive their payments by direct deposit. We're not allowed to write checks anymore like we did in the old days. So here's our more information about the application. So it's due soon, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So it's 10 p.m. I should say 9:59 p.m. because it's going to cut off. It's a computer program. It's going to hit that clock value and stop accepting. So Mountain Time, it'd be 9:59 p.m. on January 26th. And then you need 2 letters of recommendation. Those are accepted through January 29th. So same thing, 11:59 p.m. on January 29th. And need a resume, transcript, unofficial is fine. 2 letters of recommendation, proof of U.S. citizenship. This one, I talked about the permanent residency being a valid green card, but for U.S. citizenship, there's several ways, and it's spelled out on the website, but the most common are birth certificate or passport. Please do not send your driver's license or social security card because that's not acceptable proof of U.S. citizenship. So we definitely need that to be accurate. Proof of health insurance is required to work in a federal laboratory. The online application has a questionnaire, which is online questions. And I think a lot of them are very straightforward, like what college are you attending? What's the city and state of that college? And then the, kind of what's your major, what's your GPA, those kinds of things. But then in there are a couple of important parts, and those are actually coming up on the next slide. So that completed questionnaire, I'll talk about a little bit more. And the personal statement is like a 1-page essay. We call this like your interview on paper. So this is where we want to hear your voice and like, why are you interested in your major? Why are you interested in NIST? What do you hope to gain from having this internship opportunity? What do you hope to do after you're done with your undergraduate work or maybe even your entire college career? This is like really where we want to hear your voice, and we can see your grades and we can see the classes you've taken. But if you like a particular class, we can't tell that from your transcript. And we can't, you might have straight A's, and it's like, how do we know which class you like the most, right? Or which helped you grow the most, or where did you learn the most? So we don't see that from the transcripts. but we hope to see it in your personal statement. And one thing I would encourage all of you to do in your personal statements, being from Colorado College, where you focus on one class at a time for the block, that's what it's going to be like here. You're going to be focusing on one project really intensely. So I would encourage you to connect the dots for our reviewers, and that I have experience with focusing on one thing in depth for an extended period of time. And I want to do that at NIST on a project where I can do a deep dive on that project and learn about it and help move the project forward for the 11 weeks or 9 weeks that I get to be there. Not all colleges have that program. And, students are maybe in other places, they do a little of this class, they do a little of that class, and, over the whole semester. But you have that kind of a different perspective. And I think that's to your advantage. And I really encourage you to highlight that on your personal statement. I don't think people will notice that on your transcripts, but if you say it, they will read it. Each application, by the way, is reviewed by 2 or 3 staff members. So you're going to have a lot of people will have eyes on it. And then there's a discussion, and then we work towards selecting. So here's our application links. I did want to point out the difference and the questionnaire. So if you apply to the Surf Boulder program, you're going to have to pick your top 4 projects off of our website. So we have about 20 projects there. And so you'd want to select the top 4 in order, right? But in Gaithersburg, we have, oh, what did we say? About 150-ish projects. So we're not going to ask you to pick out your top 4. We're just going to say pick out your top 2 labs. So those were those different laboratories, engineering laboratory, the physical measurement laboratory, and so on. And if you kind of use our links, and you can see some descriptions about those laboratories, and you can look at some past projects and things like that to see where you might fit. Okay, but that's really the only difference between the 2 applications. So you can use all the same other stuff, like you can use just upload your resume again, upload your personal statement again, all of that. The questionnaire just has really those 2 different parts. And that's just because our mentors in Gaithersburg are different from our mentors in Boulder. And, that's kind of how they like to run things. So we accommodate their requests. So if you do one in application, you want to do the other, the second one shouldn't take you that much time. Okay, any questions about SURF? Because I'm going to move into our other program. So if you want to talk a little bit more about SURF, I'm happy to take questions. Yeah, Ava?
Yeah, so I actually had a question. You mentioned earlier there was a program specifically on scientific writing. And so I was curious, is that a separate program or like from like the more research-based programs? And then if it is within the research programs, how much of an emphasis is there on scientific writing and other scientific forms of communication?
Yeah, that's part of SURF. And so we have our laboratories, right? And then we have this public affairs office. We have different offices at NIST. So one of them is our public affairs office. So it's heavily science writing. It's taking our NIST science and working some magic on the communication so that the general public can understand it, right? Because we have a lot of very high level scientists here. Like we're, a scientific community, and internally, a lot of people understand very in-depth scientific research, but we want to get our work out to the public so that communications writing thing that's what they're trying to do, right? Trying to be the liaison between like more of a scientific technical community and the general population.
Got you.
But then like the research component on that, I think is going to be like figuring out what platforms generate the most interest. Like, is it better to post something on X, or should it be on Twitter, or should it be on Facebook? And like, who are we getting? Like we have our target audiences, because we might be interested in undergraduate students, or we might be interested in middle school science teachers, et cetera. So we have our target audiences, and then we'll do like, a posting or whatever, and we're trying to figure out, did it work? And so they have to do some analysis on there. But
Got
you would
you.
go yeah, the scientific communication one, they'll do all the things that like the, chemistry major would do in terms of we do a lot of tours and like talks and there's some social activities, so they would be involved in all of that stuff.
Thank you.
Any oh yeah, I'm glad you asked about that one. Um, I'm gonna actually pull something up. I'll put it in the chat here. Are there any other questions at this time? Okay, so let me give you this one part here. And that science writing one is in Gaithersburg, but you kind of have to scroll down to get it. I'm gonna put this here. I'm just gonna put a little piece in the chat. Oh, if I can find the chat now. I might have to do that later. Um, but so just I'll do that later when I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Okay, but here we are. So PrEP is another program, professional research experience program. And I'm going to go to this next slide because I think PrEP is interesting because it provides opportunities for all of these groups, right? Undergraduates, post-bachelor's degrees, on up, all the way through research faculty. So we will have guest researchers, who are professors, right? And then we'll have somebody who's a first year undergraduate student. So, and prep is different from like SURF, for example, because every appointment is individual. So SURF, all the students come for 11 weeks or 9 weeks, and they all start at the same time and they all end at the same time. Kind of a cohort that moves through the program. Prep is individualized depending on what a researcher needs. They might need somebody to do 10 hours a week of coding, and they do that for 2 years. Or they might need somebody to work just over the summer, and they work, for 10 weeks over the summer. So it just depends. But it's an interesting program. The thing for you all, you have to, it's also open to foreign nationals as well as US citizens and permanent residents. Um, One thing though is that as a student at Colorado College, you're not quite eligible for prep yet. But when you are finished with your academic work there, and you can apply to prep. So it might be something for you after your time at Colorado College. We do have prep schools, right? So these other associated schools. Um, So the job postings are on the school's websites. So you'd visit the school and then go look. And like I said, if you're a student, you have to be at one of these schools. We have 5-year cooperative agreements with these schools, and we're kind of right in the middle. Um, and when we're done with those cooperative agreements in about 2.5 years, we'll be generating a new list of prep schools. So in any case, if you're attending a college, you need to be attending one of these to be involved in prep. But once you're out of college, you can just go to the school's websites and apply. You can be from anywhere. Okay, so that's prep. I'll leave that. Then we have our summer high school intern program. I know you're all done with high school, but maybe you have friends or family who are high school students. So we have a 7-week high school program for juniors and seniors. So they apply now, and then they participate in it the summer after their junior year, after their senior year. Same application deadlines. And the thing about this one, though, is it's an unpaid internship, trying to get it paid. We're not quite there yet. So I hope in the future it will be a paid internship, but for right now it's volunteer. Graduate Student Measurement Science and Engineering Fellowship Program, GMSE. This one, if you are getting close to being done with undergrad, you might want to consider this. Some things about it to know. If you get this fellowship, your tuition for grad school is waived. So it's very nice. And you can also, on top of that, earn like $20,000 a year, depending on how much you work. uh, at the, on this task. Um, so it's very lucrative. Uh, the application is available to you once you are accepted into a grad school program. So you don't have to be taking your classes yet. And maybe, when people go to grad school, maybe they pick out a few different grad schools and they're kind of weighing like, should I go to this one or should I go to that one? Well, you could apply to this, and if you got the funding, it would maybe help you with your decision. Um, yeah, and it's available for people pursuing a master's degree or people pursuing a PhD. So I know it says graduate, you know, measurement science, but think master's and PhD, master's and beyond. So I like to bring that up because it can really help with all that expense of going to grad school. Any questions out there? Okay. Our next one is our postdoc program. This one's pretty far down the road for folks. This is for people who are about to earn their PhD. So they have to be 6 months in front of earning their PhD or finishing a PhD program, and then 2 years after receiving their PhD. So that's the window of time that people participate in this postdoc program. Um, it's just good to be aware of it. It's a national program, so there are plenty of other opportunities, but NIST is very strong in this program. Our salary for it is like the second highest out of all the organizations that do it. And when people are an NRC postdoc at NIST, they are a federal employee. So they have benefits, they have like retirement, they're accruing their time in the federal workforce. So it's a nice thing to know about. Um, and then we have our Summer Institute for Middle School Science Teachers. So this is a program that's a 2-week program, and our dates this year are July 6th through July 17th. We provide a stipend to the teachers of $2,700 just for participating. And then on top of that, again, if they're not local, if they're coming from out of the region, they get $2,700 for travel and housing. So, like if they had to be in a hotel for 2 weeks in Gaithersburg, Maryland, if they had to fly from Texas to Maryland, we provide that $2,700 to cover it. The applications for this are very straightforward. It's like a 1 or 2 page, kind of what's your name, what's your school, how long have you been at that school, and so forth. And then it does require an administrator, like a school principal or superintendent, to provide a letter of recommendation. But it's a very straightforward letter. Like, we just want to know if this person was a middle school science teacher the past school year, and are they planning on going to be a middle school science teacher in the next year. So we want to give them some, you know, information and ideas to enhance their curriculum in the fall. So if they're not going to be at a school in the fall teaching middle school science, then we'd rather give the opportunity to somebody who is. And then so the teachers fill out their applications, and then it's a lottery system for selection. So we usually host about 25 teachers, and they can only go once. Sometimes a teacher attends and they want to come back, and we want to share it with somebody who hasn't had the opportunity. We give them a lot of hands-on activities. Our scientists will come and do demonstrations and experiments with them. They provide talks and lectures. We give them tours of different NIST facilities and lab visits. So they really get to kind of spice up their curriculum and learn about NIST, and then hopefully bring that back to their classrooms. And those are all of our academic programs in our office. So the International and Academic Affairs office, we have those 6 programs. And then here's our team. You can always reach me at kara.o'malley@nist.gov or at surf@nist.gov. We have one also that's ship@nist.gov for our high school people. But you're very welcome to email me anytime with any questions, or just if you need some clarification on anything, I'm happy to help out. And again, I'll send these over to Sarah. She can share with everybody, as well as our brochures. And thank you very much for sitting through my talk and being so attentive. You're a great audience.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you so much for sharing. Students, any questions that are coming to mind? I know you have a quick turnaround to apply this cycle, but Yeah, now's the time to ask some questions. I know that you guys could probably get an application in pretty quick. Yeah, Ava.
Hi again. I actually had a question about more like the application process. So I know you had the two different campuses, the Boulder one and the one in Maryland. And I guess I'm curious because I know there's a lot fewer projects in the Boulder campus. Is there a big difference in, I guess, like the competitiveness of the both of those programs? Because like given that they're separate applications, I'm just like curious about
Yeah.
I guess strategy in terms of which to apply for.
Yeah, that's a great question. So our Gaithersburg campus is about 3 times as large as our Boulder campus, both in like just like physical campus size and number of people who work there, population. So overall, the SURF program's acceptance rate is about 30%. Um, I do have some stats on our webpage about past acceptance rates for the different labs in Gaithersburg. Um, Boulder is more competitive than Gaithersburg, just as we have the fewer number of opportunities and we have a lot of applications. We have a lot of applications for both. But I think, like you mentioned, the smaller cohort, and that's really just based on our mentors. I think, I mean, personally, I think a lot of people in Colorado enjoy the summers in the mountains, and they tend to take summers off to time off during the summer to go do that, so they can't host a mentor, or they can't host a mentee. But yeah, so overall, the acceptance rate is higher in Gaithersburg. It's closer to that 30%. It's a great question. What else?
Um, I'm wondering a bit about the letters of recommendation. Um, so like I'm a freshman in college right now. Would you say you'd prefer like a letter of recommendation from like a high school science teacher or like a college non-science professor?
I think either could be great. Um, it really, it's kind of like that personal statement. We want to hear from somebody who knows you well, like who can really speak about you as an individual,
Hmm.
you know. So if that high school person, if you have more, history with them, if they know you better, um, I think that may be better. And also, I think a STEM professor or teacher is going to be better than a non. That
Yeah,
being
totally.
said, if you have an employment kind of thing and they may not be STEM, um, or like a club or something, or a sport, and then they're not STEM, but they know you really well, like that can be very, very good.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. These are great questions. Anything else? And again, if we hang up and then you think of something, just send me an email. Okay, Ava. Yeah.
Hi, sorry. I am kind of intrigued about when you're looking at the applications of all of the different students. Obviously you'll look at like GPA and coursework and things like that, but
Hmm.
in terms of like the student statement, I think you call it, or like basically the cover letter type of situation, is there
Yeah.
anything that you're particularly looking for within the undergraduate applications, so like things that I should emphasize or different things that particularly like make you stand out as an applicant for this specific program?
Yeah. I think we really do want to see students who are curious about STEM and science, and research, and also like that you can, in your statement, somehow convey that besides saying, I'm really curious about learning about, material measurement science or something. Like, how do we know that? Like, what other sentences could you then use to support that? Like that from your personal experience. Like, Um, we had a student in the communications technology laboratory, and they talked about, how they started taking radios apart and really look trying to put them back together, and then kind of went on into other electronics and just as like their own personal hobby, I guess you might call it. But that to us said, okay, they're not just saying it, they actually have done some things to demonstrate that they are curious. So I think we want to see those like individual stories. And I think the other thing that's really important is perseverance and grit, because scientific research can be hard and slow and methodical. So we want to know that you can stick with it and are willing to work through obstacles. Um, Maybe things happen in the lab that you didn't expect to happen, um, but you're willing to hang in there and figure it out and try again. So I kind of think those are very important characteristics that we look for.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Yeah.
Students, please reach out to Kara or myself if you have further questions. Hopefully you can get some applications in this cycle, but if anything, you're also now aware of this really cool opportunity and the opportunities that exist even post grad. So I hope you keep this on your radar. And hopefully you get some
Mhm.
great applicants, Kara.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate the time and opportunity to talk with you and all the students here today. And um, yeah, I look forward to receiving your applications. And, I'm just an email away. So let me know how else I can help. I do also want to say, as you mentioned, Sarah, future cycles. Sometimes students look at NIST's website and kind of filter and search keywords and things like that and find projects that they're really interested in, and then they start talking to the scientists, and that might be something you really probably don't have time really to do that now, but if you are really interested, for future cycles, that might be an avenue to explore too, just having a dialogue directly with some of our researchers or some of our scientists. Because people like to talk about their projects, right? And if you ask them questions and express your interest, they would probably email you back, and
Great
that's a good
tip.
way to go too.
That's a
Yeah.
great tip. All right, great. Well, students,
Okay.
you're free to go. And if maybe you want to hang out, Kara, for a second, if anybody wants to stay and ask some more questions. But thanks for being here, y'all.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a great group.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's interesting. I know the application deadline is close, but because they turn around on things so quickly, it honestly would not surprise me if one or more of these students will apply. Sometimes I
Hmm.
think the spontaneous knowing about opportunities is helpful for them. Um,
Hmm.
I did get this recorded, so that's great. I will make sure to share.